When it comes to using a chainsaw, one of my least favorite things to do is chain sharpening. We've got 9 different chain sharpeners to test today, one of them claiming to sharpen a chain in only 3 to 5 seconds. Very impressive if that could actually take place. Well, let's get the testing underway and see which chain sharpener is the best. We'll see how long it takes for each sharpener to sharpen a chain. We'll see which sharpening system does the best job. We'll find out if any of these chainsaw sharpeners can actually outperform the sharpness of a brand new chain. In order to get a fair comparison, I went ahead and purchased 10 identical chainsaw chains. The first thing I have to do is dull each one of these chains and then we'll sharpen them. The chain that we'll be using has 56 links, 3/8 inch pitch, and 43 gauge. This is a semi-chisel chain. It can take a long time to dull the chains if I cut clean wood, but cutting logs that have been on the ground for a long period of time with dirt on them will definitely speed up the process. This old fence post is probably 40 years old. It's made out of hedge apple. This stuff gets really tough to cut when it's this old and dry. Dry hedge apple will wear out a chainsaw chain very quickly. While I'm at it, I need to take down a couple of trees that are dropping branches and are ready to fall. I've got a dead tree that's right over top of my fence and it's probably going to fall any day now. Half the tree is already broken off in the other direction, so this tree is definitely ready to go. The cutting edge on the new chain is very sharp and it's going to be very challenging for the chainsaw sharpeners to outperform a new chain. Okay, it took me about 2.5 days to dull all 9 chains, but they are definitely dull and they definitely need some attention. We want to remove the grease as well as the tree sap and other solids. I'm going to spray down each one of these chains with brake parts cleaner to remove the oil. Then I'll soak each of the chains in lye for about 15 minutes. 99% pure lye. I bought this on Amazon, but you can find this pretty much at any hardware store. I'm going to add a capful of lye to the water. The lye is pretty well dissolved, so I'm going to add the chains. Wow, that didn't take long for the lye to go to work dissolving those organic solids. We'll give it about 15 minutes and then we'll remove the chains. Okay, it's only been about 15 minutes and the water is really dirty. I'm gonna go ahead and remove these chains, rinse them off really well with water, and then we can begin sharpening them. At a price of $18.99 is this Oregon Field Sharpening Kit. The Oregon kit is made in China. The kit includes a file frame, a file handle, 3 round and 1 flat file, and a depth gauge tool. Since this is a 3/8 inch chain, we'll be using a 5/32 file. According to the instructions, sharpen a chain to 30 degrees. The mark on the chainsaw teeth serves as a guide to know which angle we need to use for sharpening the chains. We'll start with the gold chain link, and then once we get back to it, we'll rotate the saw 180 degrees and work on the other side. This chainsaw chain is pretty dull, so I'm going to begin with 5 passes. The Field Sharpening Kit does have a guide bar which helps provide the user with reference points, but sharpening results will vary quite a bit based upon the proficiency of the person using the sharpener. This is the chainsaw tooth, and this is the depth gauge. The depth gauge controls how deeply these teeth cut into the wood. Since this is the first sharpening, we shouldn't have to file this depth gauge down, but we're going to go ahead and check it anyway. File is unable to make contact with the depth gauge because we haven't worn down the teeth enough. The chainsaw tooth looks much better after sharpening, and it only took around 7 minutes to sharpen a chain using the Oregon File Sharpening Kit. To test performance of the chainsaw sharpeners, I'll be using this lithium-powered chainsaw. The chainsaw requires 2 batteries to function, and fortunately I have 8 batteries to work with. So I'll be throwing these batteries on the quick charger after each test. I'll be adding 2.5 pounds of weight to the front of the saw and not applying any downward pressure other than the weight of the saw plus the weights that I'll be adding. We'll see how long it takes for the saw with the new chain to cut through 6 4x4s. $13.48 seconds for the Oregon Field Sharpening Kit. At a price of $29.99 is this Chicago Electric Power Tools chain sharpener, which is sold at Harbor Freight. The Chicago Electric is made in China. With the angled cutting edges facing right, place the saw chain in the vise, engaging the chain on the spokes of the chain wheels. Squeeze the vise handle to test clamping tension. Adjust the clamping lock nut until the saw chain does not move while being clamped. Loosen the angle adjustment knob, align the angle arrow to the correct angle to the left of 0 on the miter gauge, then tighten the angle adjustment knob. Turn the chain roller until the first right-hand cutter is in position. Pull down on the handle to bring the grinding wheel into the gullet, then make adjustments. Turn the chain stop adjustment knob until the grinding wheel just grazes the cutting edge. Tighten the chain stop lock nut. Turn the depth adjustment knob until the grinding wheel is just above the bottom of the gullet. Tighten the depth adjustment lock nut. I'm adding a bread tie to the chain so we can keep track of where we started. Squeeze the vise handle and pull down on the handle until the grinding wheel makes contact with and sharpens the cutting edge. Sharpening the left-hand cutters. Leave the chain in the vise. Loosen angle adjustment knob. Align the angle arrow to the correct angle to the right of the 0 on the miter gauge, then tighten the angle adjustment knob. About 5.5 minutes to sharpen the chain with the Chicago Electric. The Chicago Electric is definitely more aggressive than using a round file, so I don't have to file down the depth gauge. The Chicago Electric did a great job putting a sharp edge on the cutters, but it also changed the geometry of the cutters just a little. 12.33 seconds for the Chicago Electric, which is about 1.5 seconds faster than the Oregon Field Sharpening Kit. At a price of $30.48 is this Oregon Sure Sharp 12-volt electric chainsaw sharpener. Contains 3/16, 5/32, and 7/32 sharpening stones. Includes 12-volt automobile power adapter and alligator clips. The Oregon is made in China. Alligator clip adapter, chainsaw sharpener, sharpening stones, lock motor shaft with spindle lock button, loosen lock nut, install stone, tighten lock nut. Loosen adjusting screw. Position guide plate against wrench to achieve correct stone height. Tighten adjusting screw. Sharpen chain at angles recommended by chain manufacturer. We'll be sharpening at 30 degrees. I'm going to put a mark on the sharpener so it'll be easy to see. About 4 minutes. The Oregon did a great job putting a very sharp edge on the cutters. The Oregon Sure Sharp moves into the lead with a time of 10.82 seconds. At a price of $36 is this Stihl 2-in-1 File and Go. The Stihl is made in Germany. This is a really innovative product. It has a flat file to work on the depth gauges while you're filing the chain, so it's 2-in-1. The file that the Stihl came with doesn't fit my saw, so I'm going to go ahead and use a different file. We're going to be using a 5/32 file. The first step is to place the chainsaw inside of a vise. The sharpener has a couple of marks in the bar so we can make sure that we have the right angle sharpening the chain. Now that we've sharpened one side, we're going to rotate the chainsaw and sharpen the other side. It took me about 5.5 minutes with the Stihl. The chain sharpened with the 2-in-1 looks extremely sharp. The Stihl 2-in-1 did the best yet at 10.2 seconds. At a price of $41.49 is this Grindberg File and Joint. It claims to quickly clamp on the bar and keeps chains factory sharp. We're going to test that. Sharpens all saw chains, lower depth gauges. The Grindberg is made in USA. Step 1. Position file and joint on bar. Tighten screws to lock clamp over chain rivets. Hold file and joint parallel to the bar and tighten screw. Back off screw slightly to allow chain to move through snugly but freely. Position back of cutter against chain stop. Set the file height by turning the screw. File should show approximately 1/5 to 1/10 of its diameter above the cutter. Set the tilt dial 0 degrees. Set the filing angles according to the manufacturer's instructions on horizontal scale. The Grindberg does not come with a file, so I'm going to go ahead and install a 5/32 file. It definitely takes a little while to set up the Grindberg. As long as the Grindberg is set up properly, it definitely seems to be the best designed sharpener for providing precise, consistent results. It took a while to set this tool, but once it was set up, a little over 6 minutes to sharpen the chain. The Grindberg looks to have done a terrific job sharpening the chain. The Grindberg did fairly well at 11.24 seconds, but that's almost a second slower than the Stihl 2-in-1 system. At a price of $83.99 is this Stihl portable chainsaw sharpener. 12-volt unit clips to your vehicle's battery. Comes with an 8-foot cord. Unfortunately, the sharpening stones are not included. The sharpening stones were just under $6. Insert proper size grinding stone using the 2 wrenches attached to the cord. Loosen the screw on the height plate. Select appropriate wheel size slot on the easy gauge and place over the wheel. Slide the height plate down until it is in full contact with the easy gauge and grinding wheel. Place the grinding stone into the cutter with the height plate resting on top of the cutter. Line up 30-degree angle mark parallel to the bar. Stroke grinder back and forth gently until the cutter is sharp. Sharpen the right and the left-hand cutters from the same side of bar. About 6 minutes with the Stihl sharpener. The Stihl looks to have done a great job sharpening the chain. 12.96 seconds for the Stihl 12-volt sharpener. That's about 2.5 seconds slower than the Stihl 2-in-1 file. At $95.33, the second most expensive product we'll be testing is made by Grindberg. Powered by your car or truck battery. Built in the USA for performance and durability. 3 sharpening stones included. Place precision grinder over chain and bar. To position precision grinder base, tighten screw to lock chain clamp over chain rivets. Hold precision grinder base parallel to bar, tighten screw. Back off screw slightly to allow chain to move through snugly but freely. Position cutter back against chain stop. Set the tilt angle. Set angle dial to the selected angle. Tighten thumb nut. Adjust height dial if grinding wheel protrudes 1/5 to 1/10 above cutter. The Granberg sharpened chain looks really sharp. And the Grindberg moves into the lead with a very impressive 9.78 seconds. At $194.99, the most expensive chain sharpener that we'll be testing is made by Oregon. Fairly powerful motor at 220 watts. The Oregon is made in China. 3 different sizes of grinding stones. A small amount of assembly is required. The Oregon is assembled and mounted, so let's go ahead and set this up to sharpen the chain. The operator's manual for the Oregon includes instructions on how to set up the sharpener for each type of chain. For our type of chain, we need 55 degrees head tilt. We're going to set the angle to 30 degrees. We're going to set up our chain stop so we take off just enough from each tooth. This knob controls the depth of the cut. We definitely want to get down in the gullet quite a ways, but not all the way down to the chain link. Everything's just about set up. The last step is to rotate this arm to the right about as far as I can, applying some pressure so it'll hold the chain in position. We just finished the right-hand cutter, so I'm going to set this up for the left hand. About 4.5 minutes to sharpen the chain. The Oregon's done a terrific job sharpening the chain, but the geometry looks like it's changed just a little. $16.2 seconds for the Oregon bench grinder. The sharpener is definitely more capable than that. So the Grindberg 12-volt precision system came out on top at 9.78 seconds, Stihl 2-in-1 file 10.2, Oregon SureSharp 10.82, Grindberg file system 11.24, and Chicago Electric 12.33 seconds. Obviously there's a learning curve and I didn't do a very good job with some of the sharpeners. So I'm going to spend about twice as much time on each chain and check my work under the microscope to give each one of these brands the best possible chance. I'm going to go ahead and remove the felling spikes just to make sure it's not interfering with the test results. Okay, I just spent about 3.5 hours sharpening the chains to make sure every brand has the best possible chance to do well. Let's test the Oregon Field Sharpening Kit first. $8.89 seconds for the Oregon Field Sharpening Kit, the fastest time yet. $9.1 seconds for the Harbor Freight is very good, but not quite fast enough to take the lead. $11.34 seconds is quite a bit slower than the Oregon and Chicago Electric. And the Stihl 2-in-1 file system moves into the lead with a time of 8.26 seconds. Very impressive. And the Grindberg file and joint moves into the lead with a very impressive 7.74 seconds. The Stihl portable 12-volt sharpener was quite a bit slower than the Grindberg at 10.56 seconds. And the Grindberg portable 12-volt sharpener was nearly as fast as the Grindberg file and joint at 8 seconds. Very impressive. The Oregon bench grinder did much better this time at 9.26 seconds, but that's not nearly enough to take the lead. So are any of these brands fast enough or even faster than a new chain? Well, let's find out. I'm going to make 3 passes just to make sure we get the fastest possible time. 8.89 seconds on the first pass. 8.48 seconds on the second pass. 8.42 seconds on the third pass. So nearly identical times in all three tests. So the Grindberg filing joint, the Grindberg portable 12-volt, Stihl 2-in-1 file all outperformed the new chain. The Oregon Field Sharpening unit was almost as fast at 8.89 seconds, Chicago Electric 9.1, and Oregon Bench Grinder 9.26. So which chainsaw sharpening system is best? In my opinion, the Grindberg systems, both chain sharpeners, are very impressive and hard to beat. I also like the Stihl 2-in-1. If you have badly damaged chains and you have a lot of material to remove, it's going to be very hard to beat a bench grinder. For the price of $29.99, the Chicago Electric does a fairly good job. All the videos in this channel, including this one, are viewer recommended. So if you have a video idea, I hope you'll take time to leave a comment. Thanks so much for watching. Please take care, and I look forward to next time.